Well, what's going on, Facebook family? It's your main man, Joe Dupree, along with my brother Edward Brown in the building on this Wellness Wednesday. Often imitated, but never duplicated.
Never
We in
do.
the building. We in the building, man.
Yeah, brother, what's going on, man?
Man, it is another day. All I can say is, man, just before we're going on the air, of course, news going out about another shooting, Tulsa,
Really?
Oklahoma.
Tulsa?
Yep, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah, at a medical facility. Three
Really?
people confirmed dead. Some injured. More information is rolling in. I'm trying to keep abreast of this while we're on here, because the thing I knew we were going to talk about again tonight was racism, mental health, and respect. And this is the first day of June, which is a commemorative month for people in the alternative lifestyle community, the LG. I forget all the letters. I forget all the letters.
LGBTQ.
That's it. That's it. So big ups to everyone. Strangely, in the community that I live in, we have a situation that's very strange, that the library is not recognizing any faction that could be considered political or politicized. So they're really not even putting any displays up celebrating the month of June for that community, or from now on any other month. Women's History Month, Black History Month, Hispanic History Month. They're not putting any displays up. Now, they're not taking the books out of the library that pertain to the subject, but they're just not celebrating or putting up any displays in the library anymore.
Okay. Well, that kind of goes directly into picking up where we ended last week and beginning this week.
Yep.
And I had so many people to talk to me about what we talked about last week.
Okay.
And the reoccurring theme is, we're talking about it, and we're bringing light to it. But now, what do we do?
My brother, that's a hard one. Because you think about it. I saw something that was very comical but sad at the same time. They said after so many deaths occurred in the Ford Pinto, they recalled it. After so many deaths occurred with a certain medication, they recalled it. But when it comes down to guns and gun violence, it's still going strong with no recall, no parameters put on it. To be exact, people are loosening gun laws. They're not restricting gun laws. They're actually making it easier to access guns, and there is another level to weaponry, which I call weapons of mass destructions, such as AR style weapons, which are literally only used in combat and in war situations.
Okay. So we sitting here, we're saying that it's a difficult decision, as difficult actions are coming up with actions, but I beg to differ. Here's the course that we need to take.
Come on, talk to me, brother.
Like you said, with Pintos and the danger it posed, we recall. If there's a medication and there's been too many, devastating side effects or detrimental side effects, it's recalled.
Correct.
All of that is done in the political system. So now, as we sit here and we look at something that needs to change, what are the entities or the variables that can change it? I think that we have talked about, here's the cause, here's the effect. Now, what do we do? At some point, this show is going to take a great look at what are we doing politically, because normally we spend our entire show talking about the mental health of people and how we want to better the quality of their life. Well, this is a direction that we're going to have to look at in order to better the quality of life and make the quality of life that we're living safe. So now it brings us back to this horse that we've been hearing beat for so long, and that is voting rights.
Come on.
If you have some agenda that is significant and important to you, i.e. gun control, then you need to vote and question these individuals that smiling with 64 teeth instead of 32 teeth, smile in your face, asking you for your vote. Where do you stand on gun control? So the reason this is very important to me, Brother Dupree, because at Alcorn, when I first got there, I used to teach a class called policy.
Okay.
And the students used to say, I hate policy. And I even told the chair, I said, I don't know why you're giving me this class, because I hate policy as well. Until I put my own twist on it.
Okay.
And this is the twist I told them. Do you know what policy does? And they're like, what? Policy directly impacts the type of services we can provide.
Correct.
As mental health professionals.
Correct.
And when they looked at it, they were like, wow. And just so happened to show you how God is, that was the semester that Mississippi was talking about doing away with credentialing. So the student was like, what's the big deal? I said, the big deal is if they do away with credentialing, that degree you're getting is not worth the paper that it's on.
Correct.
Credentialing bodies say in order to be licensed, you have to have a degree in this, a degree in that, so many hours of training.
From an accredited.
From an accredited university. If we do away with that, then Joe Blow standing under the tree with a blunt can say, I am a therapist.
Right, right.
They automatically and all of a sudden understood the importance of policy. Now let's bring us to where we are today. These people want us to vote for them, but we're having a problem with gun violence.
Correct. We are.
But that is what makes the NRA such a powerful entity.
Correct.
They have great numbers that impact political individuals. So here's what we do. If you cannot tell me that your agenda slightly matches mine, I will find someone that does.
Correct. We've got to start asking, what are we getting for our allegiance to a politician? Correct. At the end of the day, in many Black and brown communities, the politicians show up with a case of water, a few barbecue plates,
and a
smile, and they get our votes. We have to have more substance behind us giving our votes than a bottle of water and a barbecue plate. We have to start asking these politicians, where do they stand on the issues? And we should actually make them commit to, in some shape, form, or fashion, where we can go back and give them what I call the litmus test of accountability and responsibility, that you promised us the following things. Where are we at with your promises on you delivering to our communities what we have asked for?
So do you not see how important or the course of action is for us as voters in regards to this gun violence?
Correct. I see it.
You see it,
my brother.
So here's the thing. If you cannot tell me that we are going to do something to stop the sale of these weapons of mass destruction, you cannot have my vote.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, if we do not stop 80-year-olds from being able to walk into a store and buy a gun that's used for military service, we're going to continue to have shows like we had last week. We're just going from this one to the next one. And I am truly tired of going to the next one. So I am looking at politicians who constantly contact me, and I'm saying, the only people that can make the changes that we need is in office.
Correct.
And that's the part we don't want to look at, because when we start talking about, they're ducking and dodging because it's just me and you. And then the NRA is 500,000 strong.
And Brother Brown, we've got to really have some serious conversations.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I am right now working on, and this kind of hits the home, we can go back to a Wellness Wednesday we did after everything had occurred in Wisconsin with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Correct.
Now, Kyle Rittenhouse, this is what he did, though he was not found guilty of murder. He literally, with an AR style weapon, took some individuals' lives
at 16 years old.
At 16 years old, and proclaimed that he was going there from another state to be a protector of property and help assist law enforcement in the rioting that was going on after the George Floyd incident. I believe it was George Floyd. I don't know, was it George Floyd or some other incident? So
I don't care if it was Pink Floyd.
Right.
He had no business being there.
Now watch this. That's where I think we really have to start asking the question, is justice just us?
Right.
Because on the other side of this, we have a champion, which I believe is an advocate for us to have the same level of rights as individuals who are not Black and brown. And that is Grandmaster Jay from the NFAC. Now, he came down and he has advocated for Breonna Taylor. He came here to Lafayette, Louisiana, and advocated for the Pellerin situation, that justice be served equally when it is non-African Americans who are doing the shooting. Okay. Now, he just got convicted in a federal court, not for taking lives, but for pointing his weapon at a federal officer.
Wow.
Where he may get sentenced up to 20 years.
Wow.
So let me understand this. Tamir Rice is murdered. Sarah Bland is murdered. Mike Brown is murdered. Trayvon Martin is murdered. And the list goes on and on and on, where people of color are literally murdered. And the individuals who murdered them do not get convicted of anything. But let me point a weapon at you.
Right.
And now I am found guilty. And may serve up to 20 years for pointing a weapon at a federal law enforcement officer. I didn't discharge the weapon. There wasn't a bullet that came out the weapon. The weapon pointed at you. That makes you feel, as a person of color, justice is just us.
Well, there you said that word. Makes you what? Feel. It makes us feel. And right now, we are in the middle of a barrage of feelings, from anger, from hostility, from hopelessness, helplessness. There's a cornucopia of feelings that we go through as people of color, and we do nothing with the feelings. What I tell folks all the time, and let me sit up so that you can hear what I'm saying. What I tell folks all the time is, if someone tells you you vote Democrat because you're Black, you should be insulted.
Correct.
Because it implies that you are not intelligent enough to know the issues.
Correct.
I've never been a Democrat because I'm Black. I look at the issues and I make decisions based on the agenda that impact my life the best. If you are not pro mental health prior to these mass shootings and these killings, then you're not the candidate for me. If you don't understand how you have to stop cutting funds to mental health, then you're not the candidate for me. If you are not an advocate for teaching our children coping skills so suicide decreases again in the community, then you're not the candidate for me. If you do not vote in ways that protect our children and the family structure, you're not the candidate for me. Now, one time did I say, oh, Democrat this, Democrat that, Republican this or that? At this point, we have to start holding people accountable. Right. And when I say that, that's because I had too many people say, man, your discussion last week was amazing. But what do we do now? Now you start looking at these folks that can make the decisions and make the change, and you hold them accountable. If you do not hold them accountable, then you're just as much of the problem as they are. And that goes back to like we talked about with our black friends. I got black friends. If you are a white person and you're around a group of white people and you allow racist things to be said and you do nothing, you're a racist too.
Correct. And vice versa. And listen, thing. And the reason why many a times, and watch this. I want to be very careful with what I say right here, because people will take this the wrong way. But this is really how I feel.
Well, they'll do that anyway. So
after 400 years of what we as a people have endured, 400 plus years, you know, when people try to tell me, but you the racist, wait a minute, stop. I have always known my people, no matter what level my people are at, even my people who sometimes forget that they are our people. I had a discussion about that today that you and I need to dive into. Mm-hmm. What happens when you meet folks that look like you but act like them?
Oh, that happens all the time. That I had a conversation with a brother that looked like me, and he said, well, you know, people have a problem with black people have a problem with me because I'm not the angry black man. I said, and what does that mean? Well, you know, because I'm not fight the power for the people. I said, here's the interesting thing. If I have an opinion, does that make me an angry black man? Mm. You see, having an opinion back in the day with Negroes like you was the problem. Right. You are supposed to be seen and not heard. Correct. So if now they put it in your head, if you have an opinion, you're an angry black man.
Right. Or an angry black woman.
Or an angry black woman. And I'm not angry. I just have an opinion. Correct. I disagree with you. So because I disagree, I'm angry? No, I'm not angry. What we have to do is be comfortable enough to stand up for ourselves and our community. Correct. That is the purpose for podcasts like this. That is the purpose for brothers like you and I joining and trying to bring other individuals into, you know, the loop to understand what's going on. No more will I ever sit around with a politician who said, well, you know, it's nothing we can do about because they won't vote. Aren't you they?
Right.
See, aren't you the they we're talking about?
Because we put you in office.
We put you in office.
And if it is power to the people, see, we have to understand, here's the biggest problem that I see across the board. We have to realize that our vote is our voice, and our voice has power when we use it. Correct. We got to get beyond voter registration and get into voter participation. I don't need 1,000 people on the roll and only 2 people showing up to the polls. I'm going to say that again. I don't need, now that's a rhyme for you since they say we kind of, you know, we entertain it. You know, I don't need 1,000 people on the rolls and only 2 people showing up to the polls. Now somebody go ahead and jack that from me too.
They can have that. That's
go on and jack it, because that's another thing. We've got to start understanding. One of the main reasons we can't get from point A to point B is because we got to be the HNIC. And there's too many of us that look like us but act like them. Too many of us who, if we can't be at the head table, being the person telling which way the ship goes, we would rather torpedo the ship, sink the ship if we can't be the captain of the ship. And
Brother,
that's where, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the problem lies. Too many times we don't know how to play the position. If I'm only 5'1", I can't be the center. I need to be the guard. I need to be on the bench, or I might need to be the water boy. But guess what? I can't be the star player all the time.
You know, hey, look, you can't, if you ain't got no arms, you can't play quarterback, and I don't care if it is your ball.
Okay.
You know, you just can't. For me, we're at this point now where if we don't do something, we are going to continue to be doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. And Brother Einstein said that is the definition of insanity.
Correct.
You can't continue to do the same thing, expecting a different outcome. At this point, are we doing something, or are we just talking about doing something? We say, are we being about it, or we're talking about it? I'm at the point now, we have buried enough young people now. We have buried enough old people. We have buried enough people at the hands of assault rifles. And again, I stand before you in opposition of these weapons that kill a lot of people real fast. I'm not against people owning guns. I'm against people owning military style guns. Because Brother Dupree, we talked about it. You and I, no matter how much money we have, cannot go and buy a tank and drive it down the interstate. Why not?
Why
not? Because if we pool our money together, we might be able enough to buy us a little small tank.
Right. Because that is considered what they call a weapon of mass destruction. Now, unfortunately, by the definition of weapons of mass destruction, they do not consider an AR-style weapon a weapon of mass destruction. Now, here's the problem I have with that.
Before you go any farther, then what we're looking at is what is the definition of a weapon of mass destruction. Correct. If we cannot own a tank because we can literally take that tank, shoot it into a building, and bring the whole building down. What is the difference between me being able to walk in with 2 AR-15s that hold 30 rounds per clip, and kill 60 people, in a matter of minutes?
And that, my friend, is where the rubber meets the road. That, my friend, is where many of folks who are Second Amendment advocates come and say what makes absolutely no sense to me. First of all, if you're not going to ban the weapon, at least let's have some sensible, common sense background checks to ensure that the individuals who are purchasing the weapons are A, mentally stable.
Correct.
B, not on anybody's watch list or has had any prior incidents such as domestic, maybe. And once again, let me pause right there before I even go down this rabbit hole. We've got to really start having a serious conversation again about two words that people mix up all the time: mental illness and indoctrination.
Absolutely.
Because here's why. Notice when a person of color commits a crime on a mass scale, they start wanting to know what's their connection to Islamic terrorist groups or hate groups or some group that might have made that individual begin to think this way, see things this way, and go that direction. But when it comes down to individuals such as the individuals we have seen of late that have caused some of these mass shooting incidents and are not individuals of color, the first thing we go into is mental illness. We skip over who has been, what type of information have they been fed, you know, because I was just telling somebody a few days ago in a class I had to do. It's a difference between a Greyhound and a Rottweiler.
Absolutely.
And guess what? If a Greyhound sit with a Rottweiler and they could conversate with each other, you know, that Rottweiler may understand why the Greyhound is so fast, and the Greyhound may start understanding why the Rottweiler is so mean. Because if you are beat on every day,
you'll get a little bit of that little bite back in you too.
You'll get a little honoriness into you too. And if maybe you're tased every day to run, maybe you'll run a little faster than most folks. So once again, we have to really start getting down to the conversation of separating mental illness, because to me, that's an insult to you and everybody in your profession, Brother Brown. When all of a sudden, an individual who has not one trace of mental illness, because prime example is my brother, is not my brother, but the individual who did the heinous crime in Buffalo, that was an intelligent young man. That man went and surveyed the area.
Correct.
If you didn't know better, you think you were dealing with somebody who worked for the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, some type of intelligence agency. That guy went and surveyed out the area before he did reconnaissance before the attack. But then instead of saying, look at the level of intelligence of this individual that did this heinous crime of pure evil. No, we don't say that because we don't want them to be looked at as pure evil. We don't want them to be looked at as intelligent. First thing we jump up in and say, oh, look at the mental state of this poor soul, because he had to be twisted and mentally deranged to want to kill all these black folks. No, he knew exactly what he was doing.
He knew, and the thing about it is, and again, it is rather insulting to us as mental health professionals. And what I mean by that is, when society can't explain something, they use the mental health scapegoat. In other words, the cucumber sandwich eating individuals with the crust cut off and the Perrier water drinking, no shot at people who like cucumber sandwiches or Perrier, sitting up in the ivory tower, can't explain why this person that looks like me, watch this, Brother Dupree, I'm going to bring it real close to home for us. When that person looks like them and they can't explain the evilness or the violence that's perpetrated, it's automatically mental illness. Has to be, or else there's no way a person that looks like me could do something. However, if it's someone like you or like me, and something is done, a drive-by, then automatically it's socially driven.
Right.
It's environmentally created.
Right. We're animals.
That's how they live. So that's going to be the type of behavior. So what we talked about last week is you cannot hide your dirt. This country was built on violence. And it has continued to be built on violence. So now when the violence still smolders under the bottom, that's, I have a lot of friends who are firefighters.
Come on.
And they say it's not the blaze that concerns us. It's that smoldering, that smoke we smell, but we can't see. That's what truly concerns us as firefighters. It's what we can't see, but we know is there. So now we come to this country and we look at, which brings us to this country, and we look at, just because now you don't openly walk with the hoods on, and you don't come in the wee hours of the night on horseback, does not mean that violent mentality that's been perpetrated for hundreds of years has been eliminated.
Correct.
It just now sits in the chambers in DC. It sits in the mayoral offices statewide. And if we don't start to call it out, well, I'm not a racist. Do you denounce it? What did he say? Then denounce the Proud Boys right now.
Come on.
What did he say? Just stand back and stand by.
Right, right.
That's not denouncing it. So we got to sit here and say, what we're seeing has always been but now it's being videotaped, and now we can see it worldwide.
Correct.
George Floyd, what made George Floyd so powerful is it happened during the time that the country was on lockdown. Everybody was watching TV because we were all inside as a result of a pandemic.
Correct.
If it was not for the pandemic, George Floyd would just be another individual. But they saw it in Europe. They saw it in Asia. They saw it on the continent of Africa. They saw it all over the world, the violence that's been perpetrated in America for hundreds of years. You understand? So now you want to look at it and you want to say, well, it has to be mental illness because he looks just like me. And it has to be mental illness. Guess what? David Duke looked just like you too.
Come on.
You understand? So we have to stop trying to that's what they want to do away with this critical race theory bone that they keep grabbing onto. If you're going to get rid of all of the stuff in history that makes you feel uncomfortable, slavery, civil rights, then we will have no history. Because Brother Dupree, there's plenty of things in history that don't sit well with me.
Correct. Hold it. And you're right about that. And you got to look at how they speak about this. Here's how you know how heartless folks are. And I said it, heartless. We had 19 souls in Uvalde. Out of the 19, I think it was 19. Was it 19 children and 2 adults, or 19 altogether? Okay.
It was 19 children and 2 adults.
Okay. So we had 19 individuals under the age of 11 years old.
Correct.
Whose life was violently snatched from them due to gun violence. Mm-hmm. And a week later, approximately 2 to 3 hours away from where the incident occurred, the NRA had a huge convention in Houston, Texas.
Correct.
Houston, we have a problem.
Absolutely.
First of all, the rhetoric of the former president, number 45, really blew my head when he says they just wait for incidents like this to happen to take away your rights to your Second Amendment rights. Listen, if the death of 19 10-year-old babies don't put you in a position that you say, we really need to relook at who is able to purchase these weapons, then something's wrong with you.
And isn't that how we started last week's podcast?
Right.
It was our attempt to no longer look at the incidents, but look at the individuals that can do something about it and won't.
Correct.
That says something about you. If you can do something about it and you don't, that says a lot. Brother Dupree, I had so many analogies running through me last week, but the one that one of the ladies that said, she said, one of the things that you said that made me really talk about how important it was that we utilize our common sense was the analogy when I said, if a 10-year-old, we can go younger than that, let's say an 8-year-old came out of the kitchen running with a butcher knife.
Right.
The entire house will be on lockdown.
Correct.
Holy God, grab that baby. Why? Why are you running to grab that baby? Why? Because of the damage he could cause running through the house with that butcher knife. Now, to prove my point, it's not going to end there.
Correct.
Madea gonna come in the middle of the room and say, who let that baby get that knife?
Right.
Somebody will be held accountable.
Right. Accountability and responsibility.
Who's responsible for that baby getting that butcher knife and running out that kitchen? He could have fell and hurt himself. He could have tripped and stabbed somebody. It's going to be all of this stuff discussed, pondered, and somebody is going to be held responsible.
Correct.
But when we have a 18-year-old can go into the store and purchase 2 AR-15s, and the weapon, the bullets to go with it,
ammunition,
a jacket,
come on,
okay, military style attire,
come on.
Here's the thing: shoot his grandmother,
come on, in the mouth,
go on a high-speed chase,
come
with
on,
the police, end up at the school, get out, take a couple of shots at the police, and then go into the school. Now, here's the interesting thing: during that entire time, there was only one policeman that shot back.
Now, hold on. Let's bookmark that.
Okay.
So I have to say this, and I'm not going to say why I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say this. What happens when the people you trust to protect and serve, stories all of a sudden don't seem so trustworthy?
Let me
because we done had a lot of different stories come out of Uvalde, and they change, and then all of a sudden people say I'm not talking no more. See, here's the sad thing about it. I tell people this all the time. The moment that you commit to be in public service, especially if it is in a first responder's capacity, be it fire, be it EMS, be it police. If you can't perform the tasks that are asked of you to the point that you may have to yourself sacrifice your own life in the protection of somebody else's, you in the wrong profession. Get your A out this house. Because this ain't for you, partner.
Absolutely.
This ain't for you. That's just like I tell people with the military. The military ain't for everybody, because they may come a day and a time after you done took that oath to uphold the Constitution that you might be put to the ultimate test that we just finished celebrating. Those who gave the ultimate sacrifice because they raised their hand, they took an oath to protect the country that they live in and the citizens of it. They said, I'll even protect it with my life. Well, let me tell you something. When you get put to the test of your oath and all of a sudden you're at the receiving end of fire, to the point that your life might be the life that leaves out your body, you got to ask yourself, people got to stop saying, I want to look a certain way and not count the cost of the oath they took to do the job that needs to be done. Because sadly, somebody should have ran up in there and kept coming until either he went down or we went down.
Well, the thing about it was, after you realize he shot his grandmother,
come on,
and he pulled up at that school,
come on,
he should not have been allowed to enter the school.
Period.
That's it. I don't care what protocol. And this is what I say as a human being. I call it the rules of engagement. Once you're shot at, the rules of engagement have occurred.
Correct.
When he shot his grandmother and pulled up at what did you think he was pulling up to that school for? At that point, we had poor judgment. Now, so that anyone that's watching this podcast who doesn't know me, because everyone who knows me knows this, at the end of almost every presentation I do, I have a 30-second soapbox. So I'm going to give it to you right here, and it won't take me 30 seconds. Policemen, firemen, school teachers, and military need to be the highest paid people on the planet.
Ding, 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 ding,
ding. None. Okay? And let me tell you why. And this is why. And I'm not ashamed, because people who also know me know I don't have I'm not afraid of anything on this earth. So I know this brother is willing to do something I'm not willing to do. You know how you said that ultimate sacrifice? Right. These guys are supposed to be trained to where their training kicks in and they defend with their lives on the line. Firemen, if you ever burn your finger, so you want me to run into a burning building, these dudes don't even think about it. They go in and they perform their jobs. Military, they go abroad and defend the rights that we have. And teachers, spend more time with our children than we do.
Come on, come on.
These individuals are willing to do things I'm not willing to do. So pay those folks.
Okay.
If they're willing to do it, pay them. So now there's another side of that coin, though.
Come on.
We need to be a little bit more selective with who we allow to have a badge and the right to utilize a gun, because if you've been bullied in school and now you feeling empowered because you're a police officer, you have unresolved issues. And that is where we see bad things happen. If you are afraid, literally, you're afraid, you should not be allowed, because bad things happen when scared people have guns.
Correct. Correct.
You know, so all I'm saying is that at this point in the process, we have to start looking at what are we going to do in order to make sure those individuals understand. I was brought to Lafayette to speak to law enforcement.
Correct.
To do training on how do we prepare you to be a community servant.
Correct.
What can we do from the mental health perspective to help you understand what it's like to be on the other side of the badge? And the example I gave is there's a mother that's standing next to you wanting to get to her son that's dead in the street, and you're like, stand back. You have to have a little more compassion. That's her son.
Correct.
That's her. So you have to say, ma'am, don't you want us to catch who did this? We cannot allow you to go to the body right now. Stand here with me. And as soon as we've gathered all the evidence and secured the scene, you will be able to go to your son.
So
that's a big difference. Then stand back,
right,
get away, don't do. Yeah.
And what I love about that is it shows if that was you.
Yes.
How would you like to be handled in this situation? And that's your child that's underneath that white sheet. Now, I'm going to go into two different subjects and we're going to come back around, Brother Brown. Subject number one. I really want to make this clear to everyone listening. Okay, because I just got a message from a friend of mine, big Second Amendment rights guy. Okay. So let me say this where it's very clear to everybody who knows where I stand on this. If an 18-year-old individual with an AR style weapon, one or two weapons, AR style with plenty of ammunition, can hold at bay for over 70 minutes, 19 well-trained, post-certified police officers, then here's my feelings on this situation. If one individual with that style weapon can hold at bay 19 well-trained officers, then that style weapon should not in any shape, form, or fashion be allowed in anyone's hand. Because if one can hold back 19, if one individual with two assault style weapons can hold back 19 well-trained, post-certified law enforcement officers, then in my humble opinion, that style weapon should not fall into anybody's hands. Because thank God it was only one person. Imagine had it been two or three. Exactly. Okay. Now, somebody, Miss Carol Brown, and I'm going to put her comment up, brought up about Master P's daughter. Wants to talk about it. Said there was a history of mental health and substance abuse issues. She was 29 years young. Of course, our prayers go out to Master P and his family. We will definitely probably try to get into this conversation as we get toward the end of the show. We do talk about mental health. I want to get more information because one thing I don't like doing It's just shooting from the dark. And I
And
know there's still.
This is my first time hearing about it.
Well, I had heard about it because, of course, people who know me know I've been in the business, in the media business, quite a while. And believe it or not, one of the first people that gave me a big job here in Louisiana was a very close friend of Master P's, who did a lot of work in Baton Rouge. So I had the opportunity to meet P. Percy Miller. I had a grant. Not only him, I met his brother. I met both his brothers, Silk the Shocker and C Murder. Did some work with No Limit. So I had heard about what was going on, but I really wanted to get more information because I'm tired of people trying to on their platforms fluff a lot of stuff up to have a lot of people listening, and then they don't give a lot of accurate information because you really don't have. I'm not going to talk about something I don't know or something that I don't have direct information on. So we do know that the situation occurred. I haven't got all the ins and the outs of why or what was curtailed in it, but we will talk about that because mental health and substance abuse is running rampant in communities of color. We say that every time we come, ever since we've been doing this podcast. And guess what? I got to start counting. I think we've got a lot of episodes here.
Mm-hmm.
We probably on our 20th or 30th episode.
I agree.
So,
I think we've been almost 2 years at this.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of conversations. We went from mental health Mondays to wellness Wednesdays.
Wellness Wednesdays, correct.
So family, we're here to have these uncomfortable conversations.
Well,
and
let
ahead.
me say this in regard to that.
Okay.
I agree that I think we should definitely talk about a lot of these high profile cases in regards to their mental health issues, because people have a tendency to believe if you are a celebrity or you are in the limelight that you don't have problems and you don't have issues. And when we see young people like this struggling with mental health, Taraji P. Henson created a foundation to where people can call and be linked with counselors. And, I think that mental health, especially in Hollywood, has become a major issue when we see people like Robin Williams who committed suicide. And there's so many other individuals who took their lives. And it shows that we do not have exemption because you have money.
Right.
And what will also need to be discussed, like Ms. Brown just talked about, is we need to start talking about what we in the field of mental health call dual diagnosis. Individuals that suffer from mental illness and they battle with drug addiction or drug abuse. They go hand in hand. That is an entire show. And I am looking at our next topic for next week, which we can bring up what happened, because like I said, this is my first time hearing about it. What happened with Master P's daughter. So I'm with you in regards to let's get some information. I'd like to read up on it and find out, but money and prestige and acclaim does not exempt you from struggling with the issues of mental illness.
I mean, look right now. When was it? Maybe about 5 or 6 podcasts ago, we were talking about the young lady who was the beauty queen in New York, who took her life. Right, who jumped out the window. And then we have so many other little things that nag at us as people of color. Like right now, the issues that drives on your mentals going on between celebrities. Like right now, DL Hughley is going real hard with Monique over some situations that people would say, well, why are y'all at each other's throat like this? Somebody said something to me today that I really wanted to talk about, but we went back to talking about what we were talking about. The person said, I feel like Oprah in The Color Purple. All my life, all I had to do was fight.
But it's true. Since we've been in this, I made a comment the other day that I stand on, and anyone that wanted to challenge me, I accept the challenge. I don't believe there's another race of people that could have survived all of the travesty that we've survived as African Americans.
I agree.
As people of color.
I agree.
I mean, we talk about we've come from slavery through civil rights. I mean, and still today in 2022, well, it was 2021, to have a man executed on camera. We still have people being able to drive into communities that and shoot it up for the sole reason that they're black.
Right.
Where are you not safe? We're not safe in the supermarket. We're not safe in the church. We're not safe in the school. And this all takes a toll on our mental health. Correct. I told you guys last week, before coming on the air, I had a conversation with my mother. And my mother said, I used to feel comfortable at least going to the supermarket. I used to feel comfortable going into the house of the Lord. She said, now I don't. That is a toll on her mental health.
Right.
Anxiety is real. Depression is real. Fear is real. Uncertainty is real. We need to start looking at what can we do to bring a sense of order out of this chaos. Because the United States right now, we're in pure chaos. And we have been for quite a while.
Correct.
So until we start saying we're going to hold people accountable, we're going to give our children coping skills, we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, we're going to continue to have these kind of shows, Brother Dupree, to where now I'm looking at, these celebrities are struggling with dealing with the loss of their children, the suicide. We have individuals that are battling in the media. Doesn't it look like pure chaos?
It does. And like I said, just before we came on, I haven't got all the facts and I've been trying to monitor it while we've been on this podcast. Tulsa, Oklahoma. There has been a shooting, mass police presence at a hospital, 3 confirmed dead, many injured. Haven't got all the particulars, but of course, that's going to be the hot topic button issue as we wake up in the morning. How many more mass shootings are we going to have before folks start asking the question, really, what's going on? Now, of course, people will argue, guns don't shoot people. People shoot people. But guess what? If you said that and you had a slingshot, it might be a different issue unless your name was David and them stones had a little Holy Ghost power behind them. But at the end of the day, let's just be real about it. We're not asking, and I'm not asking. Listen, I have a great number of weapons. Here's what I'm saying. First of all, we really have to start addressing real issues with real resolutions and stop with all this fluff. We got to start calling balls, balls, and strikes, strikes. And that's where we make our mistakes. At the end of the day, yes, it wouldn't hurt nobody to have a stricter background check when it comes to purchasing a weapon. Let me understand this. You can't purchase liquor until you're 21, but you can go purchase, but you can go purchase an AR style weapon with plenty of ammunition. So let me ask you this. Drinking a bottle of Hennessy or hold it. So in other words, drinking one shot of Hennessy between 18, 19, and 20 is considered by the American legislative body that makes the laws that we are governed by more dangerous. One shot of Hennessy is more dangerous than purchasing an AR style weapon with the ammunition. Come on, people. Where are we? Hold it. This ain't a Democrat or Republican thing. This is a do right thing. And here's what you got to start telling folks.
How we started this show today.
Right.
Is that not how at some point, as a result of last week, what do you do now that you're pointing out the issues?
Right.
We have to get individuals who make decisions.
Sister Rhonda just said a great point. Here's the crazy thing. Too many folks that are black or brown can't access the Second Amendment and the right to the Second Amendment because the clause that says once you become a criminal or a thief, you are no longer eligible to partake in certain free liberties of the Constitution. Okay, we can go through some things. The sad thing about it is this. Here's the very sad thing about it. If you look at these mass shootings that have occurred, you can give a whole list of them. Most of them occurred with an AR style weapon And most of them occurred by individuals who were not of color.
Correct.
We've got to start having some real serious conversation once again about what I call indoctrination. You know, people being programmed to feel a certain type way about a certain group of individuals, about a certain, you know, there are people right now mad at certain people's political views, not because they're wrong, it's because somebody has programmed you to believe that is wrong. You know, and we got to start talking about how folks are now doing the new programming, the new let me do this. You know, I'm like, the sad thing is many of us don't know where we came from, so we can't know where we're going. And once again, we've got too many double agents in our own community. Folks that look like you and I, but definitely act just like them other folks.
Well, they said or brother because of color.
Right, hold it. I tell people all the time, I have a simple saying: all kinfolk ain't skin folk. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. You know, so let's be real about this. And let's just think about what do we do when we finally do reach, quote unquote, the utopia of success. Many of us, once we reach a utopia of success, we get as far away from us as we possibly can. We find a place way away from where we grew up. We try to get around other folks that don't look like us and act like we have earned our spot to be there, which why couldn't we just build it up where we came from, where other little Janes and Johnnies could see and say, wow, he came from out the mud, you know, but look at him now.
You opening up a whole nother can of worms, because here's the interesting thing. As a Black business owner, I realize the reason that is they're not giving the money to rebuild up these inner city communities.
Correct.
They'll give you money to build a house out in the suburbs.
It goes back to what you said. We have to be mindful. Let me get myself back in the screen on this one. We have to be mindful of our vote. We have to understand.
That's what this show was about.
We have to understand. We started the show off with this. We're going to do a little overtime tonight. We're going to keep it on this theme. We have to be mindful of whom we give our vote to.
That's right.
And when we give our vote, what are we getting in return? And it can't be a bottle of water and a barbecue plate. We got to get some real individuals who will commit to bringing about positive change, if not slowly, to our community. Understand, this didn't happen overnight, and this can't be changed overnight. But you got to start putting the right pieces in place in order for us to call checkmate at the end of the game.
Because you gotta hold people accountable.
You got to. Accountability and responsibility. And we got to start calling folks by who they are. We got to start looking folks in the face and saying, look, you look Black, but your views ain't for the better.
Your agenda does not benefit us as a people.
Period. You Black, but the only person benefiting from you being Black is you, because you're not trying to help Black people as a whole. You showed up. You come with this rhetoric of, oh, look at me, I'm Black, I'm from the hood, I'm this, I'm that, I'm single this, I'm single that, I'm this. But the truth about it is, as soon as you got on the other side of the tracks, you forgot about where you came from.
Correct.
You were one of the first people talking to folks that didn't look like us, telling them, you need to watch so-and-so, you need to be careful with so-and-so. And trust me, this is how I know. No, wait a minute. Have you forgot where you came from? Malcolm said it best. Who taught you to hate you?
We are from time to time our own worst enemy.
Come on.
But at the end of the day, we have to join together, because we will not make it divided. And it's that simple. We cannot continue doing things the way we've been doing it, because it's not working. It's not working. We're burying children. We're burying elderly individuals who just went to the supermarket. And no different than any other issue, when it impacts the right people, then things are done. Right now, we're burying children. And these folks, I heard a guy make a call into a call-in show the other day and said they need to do an Emmett Till's mother technique. All of these parents whose children, because most of these children who died were shot in the face.
Come on.
They need to take pictures of their children.
Come on.
To the House and the Senate and make them look at what they will not do anything about.
Brother Brown.
Let them view what their ineffectiveness is causing.
So, Brother Brown, I'm going to say something that's going to be very uncomfortable. And yes, we're going to have to go a little bit over, but I have to get this out because I've heard this three times since the shooting from individuals who are not of color. I heard a lady say in a store, sad that those poor children died, but they really wasn't from here anyway. I didn't say anything. What did she mean? Oh, hold on.
Because they were Hispanic?
Right. Hold on. Oh, okay. Hold on. Yeah. That's what she meant.
Okay.
See, so I'm going to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, she's ignorant.
Because, right. She's not the only one. Many of them hold it. And guess what? I wasn't in the hood when I heard this. I was on, quote unquote, the good side of town with the good folk, with Mr. and Mrs. Good, Mr. Brown.
Good
yeah. I was with the good women, that just happen to don't look like us. But I heard 3 different conversations that's what was said. Oh, I feel so sorry for those children. But they really wasn't from here. Wait a minute. See, that's the problem. If we don't look like you and something happens to us, it really don't impact you like it does when it does happen to you. And that's sad that all of a sudden the melanin in my skin is what is the difference, because we're all human beings. That's why if you notice, even with the press, notice how much press Buffalo really got.
Mm-hmm.
Watch how much press Uvalde really has gotten.
Let me ask you this. Where were those children from Sandy Hook from?
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm going to leave that one right there for you.
Okay.
Because they didn't get more Lily White than Sandy Hook.
Okay. Hold it. But watch this. Even with Uvalde, that's what they kept referring to.
Mm-hmm.
So they referred to Sandy Hook. They didn't even refer to Florida, which happened after Sandy Hook, the situation in Florida. But here's the problem. The problem is, family, we got to wake up and understand the following. When human life, no matter what the color of the human being, no matter where the human being came from, when human life is by evil means taken, we have to address that to prevent human life from being taken by evil means again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. All of a sudden, we got to quantify. I don't have to quantify Sandy Hook. Somebody evil. I'm not putting nothing on mental health. Somebody evil took some precious souls much earlier than they should have been taken. And that should be addressed in that manner.
Absolutely. It's the bottom line. Like you said, we started this, and it's great that we've come full circle. If something is a danger, we do something about it. If a car is a danger, there's a recall. If a medication is a danger, there's a recall. These guns, these weapons of mass destruction kill a lot of people very fast. They're for military style situations, not for civilian life. Do something about it, period. And the only way we're going to do something about it is if we start to hold individuals we put in the public office accountable to make the decisions to make our society safe. We're going to always have guns.
Correct.
Handguns, things like that. But when you start looking at that, because I want a tank. If we're going to let people continue to buy military style rifles, I want to buy me a tank. I've always wanted one. I always wanted to drive it. I don't know where I'm going to keep it. I don't know what I'm going to shoot out of it, but I want a tank. So nobody should look at me foolish, because if he can have an AR-15, I want a tank.
So hold on. Let me say this from my own personal experience, because I have been behind the wheel of an M1 tank.
Mm-hmm.
I have drove it some distance.
I want one.
It's not a fun thing to drive. You'll be surprised how how that thing moves. But
I'm gonna drive it up and down the suburbs, and I'm gonna
beep
put me a
beep
big,
beep.
I'm gonna put a big radio in it. So
I didn't want to roll. I didn't want to roll the gun around.
I'm gonna turn the gun around. Exactly. We may be being facetious and sarcastic, but it is just as absurd for civilians to be able to go in and purchase these military style rifles and have absolutely no training, no need. Like right now, you say, I have no idea how to climb into the tank, let alone what the levers are for. Right. A lot of these folks only know of AR-15s because they've seen they use for mass killings. So now I want one.
Correct. You know, this is a good place for me to put a pause for the calls and tell you about Positive Choices Counseling.org. You see it there on the screen. Listen, family, if you know someone who needs to talk to somebody, I'm gonna use layman terms. I'm not sometimes he's the mental health professional. I'm just the guy who helps host this. And I have no mental health training or experience, but I do know this. If I needed someone to talk to, I would go to Positive Choices Counseling.org and have done it before, because I many a times have called my brother and say, look, man, I just need to talk to you. I got some things going on. I can tell you they have some very professional, well-trained individuals who know how to talk to you when you're going through a crisis, when you're going through a situation, when you need someone to listen, when you need someone to give you some guidance, and and they give you straight up facts and no fluff. They call balls and strikes, and they try to give you direction that, and sometimes they have to even see you in a manner that they may have to prescribe you something or do something that brings you back to a place where you can be whole and well. When we catch a cold, we go to the doctor. When we wind up with a broken bone, we go see somebody to reset the bone. Some of us have situations with our mental health that we need someone to help us get well. Guess what? If you are ill, the opposite of illness is wellness. And that is why we do this, because we want you to be holistically well. A healthy you is a better you. Definitely go to positivechoices.org, and I'm telling you, it's a great place with some great information that can get you with some folks who can really give you help. Now that I've got off my soapbox and I've said that, I can take that down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back over to Brother Brown. We will continue this next Wednesday. Tell a friend to tell a friend, share this with a friend, get more people in here. We're in here having the conversation. We have phone lines. I didn't give the phone number tonight. But you can put messages up. You can talk to us. We really want to help you understand that a healthy you is a better you, and your health consists more of you and your physical health. Your mental health matters. So, Brother Brown, close us out, brother. It's on you.
One of the most important things that we do as mental health professionals is we try to empower you. We try to empower you with the skills needed to develop the coping skills to handle stressors of everyday life. One of the things that you can do to empower yourself is to talk to people who are making decisions. Talk to people, make sure that the services that you need in your community are being provided. Make sure they're making decisions that better the quality of life in the communities that you live. Until next week, if nobody else tell you, I'll tell you. We love you, and we'll see you next week.